All right, well, we will get started here. Thank you for coming. My name's Brian Goldfine. I am a intern here at Harmonic Changes. And today I will be doing a presentation on building receptive experiences for clients that we are unable to see in person in this telehealth world. Um, Yeah, so a little bit about me. I have my bachelor's in music and minored in psychology from Naropa University in Boulder, Colorado. I then went on to Columbia College in Chicago, where I got a post-baccalaureate degree in post-production audio for film, with the intention on being able to take that and integrate it into something more than just post-production for film. Yeah, and now I am a master's student at Loyola University in New Orleans, and there's an online program which I'll be finishing in a couple years. And I'm going to share my screen and get right into it. If you have any questions, just leave them in the chat. If we don't have time to get to them, I will be writing a blog where I will answer any unanswered questions. All right, here we go. All right, so I've been making music since I was like 12, and I've always had it in mind to use music to create, as I put in this, soundscapes, ways to, create a landscape, if you will, a composition of sound that could be listened to for relaxation, stress relief, even processing emotion. I've personally listened to some of this, which I'll show you in a little bit, and even just drawing to it. And if I'm working on a thought or an idea or a problem, putting on this style of music tends to really help ease my thoughts and ease clients' thoughts. So here we go. So with recording, there's the very minimal, ideal minimum. I originally was thinking of using an iPad. It turns out iPads are not compatible with microphones other than the one that's built into it. And quality being super important, it's always like listening to music in headphones and just quality speakers is the preferred method, and making sure you have a clean recording to begin with is key. So the first thing I want to touch on is, what do you need in order to make a sound recording at home, like the basic stuff where you can get into, something affordable for a therapist to use and that we can eventually share with our clients. The digital audio workstation, which is pictured here, and the audio interface, microphones, and storage. The DAW is going to be your medium. What are you recording with? GarageBand. I use a program called Pro Tools. GarageBand, I believe, is free on Macs. I'm not sure about a PC equivalent. I'm one of those Mac people. But I know there's cheap, accessible things to use for recording. The audio interface, that is what you are seeing in this picture, and that's where you would plug your microphones in, or at least one microphone. And storage, everything needs to be backed up. And for that, I tend to use, just any sort of method. Nowadays, excuse me, you have the cloud, you have external hard drives. I have about 5 external hard drives that if I'm doing something important, I'll back it up on 5 different drives just to keep it safe. So first, what goes into, there we go. What goes into a track? And a lot of it is like setting intention, like start with a plan. What's the purpose of this recording? And who are you making it for? Is this a general thing or is this for a specific client? I tend to use a variety of different means, from nature sounds, which I'm going to show you a free program in a minute here, to using live instruments. And really it depends on the purpose. I'm working with a client that, just needs something to help them settle at night. And this is what I'm basing this presentation on, is a simple relaxation and how just the mental process of going into it. So when I'm thinking of making a piece for somebody to listen to at home, I'm like, all right, how do we want this to start? It's called Soundscapes. I like to create some sort of atmosphere. And to do that, I use this thing called Ambient Mixer. It's just an online program. And let me see if this is going to let me share it. We'll do it this way. Okay, so for this, it gives you the option of sound effects. Like, what are you trying to create? Keep that down. So let's say my client really enjoys listening to the rain. It's relaxing, can be relaxing. And here you have that option. Like, you can create a whole forest sound. There's animal, like any sound really you can dream of is in this app. And you create the base for the rest of the music. This is the basis for the instruments that you're going to choose and use to record over it. It kind of fills a space. So this is called Ambient Mixer. Let me bring back. It's relaxing. I could probably just put this on for some folks. All right, let's go back to this. Okay, so yeah, ambientmixer.com is a good way to, just coming from like the therapist perspective of you're creating this track, and it's like, well, what do I play? It creates the tone. It creates the tone for the piece that you're going to be creating. And I've always found it helpful than just starting with a flat, like, no, just instruments. Like, it just, it creates the mood that you're going for. Instruments to use. This is, in the end of this, I'm going to play a little of a track that I created with the purpose of helping a client relax at night, as I was saying. And these are some of the instruments that I use. It could be as simple as, just a guitar and your voice. I've been collecting instruments for about 20 years. So that's why mine is looking, it's grown since this picture actually. But I like to personally choose a lot of resonant instruments. They're relaxing, no sharp sounds. Even you'll see a gong in there. Even if I'm playing that, I just try and stay away from anything sharp and loud because it's supposed to be relaxing, and the tones that just kind of stretch over time seem to do a better job with it. So in the piece that you're going to be hearing at the end of this, I use handpan is this UFO looking thing in the left corner. Quartz bowls are just singing bowls. made of quartz stone. They're a little more resonant than the traditional brass or copper ones. Guitar and chimes, and of course, the atmosphere that you created in the beginning. And then we need to think, all right, how do we want to bring our client into creating that, into listening to this piece? Remember, we're from the second their headphones or speaker, they press play, every sound needs to be intentional. And so we think, okay, how do we want to open this space for them? And it's really, I don't know, for me, it's trying to just kind of get into the atmosphere that your client is going to be in when they approach it. Sometimes, not always, I'll use like a chime or something very clear that we are starting something, and just kind of hit it softly. But any sound, it's a composition. Like, just, it's the opening, it's the hello, it's the welcoming sound that you begin with. And yeah, sometimes I'll use like a chime. I think it's beneficial. So next, I want to do just a quick little exercise, because this really plays into the mindset of who's going to be listening to it. And I ask you to just close your eyes and just feel the air around you. What sounds do you hear? What smells? What is there traffic outside? Like, so all this is going to play into what the client hears at their home. And it's good to just keep all of this in mind when you're creating this piece, is the ambience around them. Actually, in the room I'm in right now, it's pretty quiet, and I just hear a computer fan, but you get the gist. I put this fun slide in here because to describe just, again, the mindset of what we're doing. So we're working with layers of sound, all these different sounds, and having them work together. Like, I've got chimes or drums or gongs or guitar, and it's like just being mindful of what we're playing and what we're recording, making sure everything works together. You can have all these different sounds and just paying attention to the different layers of the sounds. Perks of going digital. So this picture right here is of Pro Tools, and I mean, this looks rather complicated, but yeah, so each track is a different sound, but this is an example of what a DAW would look like, blank, and then this is all sound waves that somebody added into a mix. So we sit back, let's say, we record. Unfortunately, I could do a 3-hour thing on how to actually record, and there's just not time to do that. So that's why I'm talking most about the composition of it and the mindset. And why digital? Well, I mean, we're working with the idea that telehealth is a thing that's not going away. So having it a digital format that you can upload to YouTube or send in an email, just that's the world we're in. It's an easy way to get around and reach people. You can reach clients that can't leave their homes. So another thing with digital, and even the most basic DAW, the workstation, you can play even more with the intention of the sound that you record, from panning, from having it go from like the left to the right, and just the different volumes. You could add reverb, you can add vocals, like anything is possible because of the fact that it's not in real time when you're making it. So you can really hone in on the art of making a soundscape for a client. You can really cater it to them and personalize it. I always tell people to be careful because when you're recording, it's very easy to fall into the it's never perfect and get stuck, like end up adding too much into it or spending too much time on a thing because it's unlimited. The possibilities are unlimited. So yeah, it's easy to do that. So I always err on the side of caution when somebody's jumping into a recording, like, be intentional, but be simple. I think it's important, especially, following the intention of the recording that you're doing for trying to relax or help a client relax. Like, it doesn't need too much. All right. To add vocals or not. With the vocal tracks can be tricky. I'm not sure how much of any of you have listened. I know there's a billion tracks on YouTube that are guided meditations and breathing or sleep aids that you'll have someone that's narrating and it'll be quiet and then the voice comes in and it has the opposite effect. It's jarring, like, because people get into the soundscape and then all of a sudden you have a person's voice cut in. And it's something to keep in mind when doing this. Like, are you going to do singing, guided narration, or none at all? I think it plays back to not only the intention of the piece, but also it's important with the execution with it. When you're adding vocals in one of these tracks, or even this can even be in a live setting, like how do we enter our voice back into the situation, back into the scenario, and making sure that if you are using your voice to come in softly, and singing, fade in singing if you're going to be like chanting. With singing, I really try and stay away from anything with lyrics. I think that lyrics, you put lyrics in a song and people listen to the lyrics, which is not a bad thing unless someone's trying to just clear their mind. With the vocals, of course, guided meditation, you can reminders to breathe. Like take a deep breath in and out. Just nice and soft like that is super helpful for it. But again, like everything needs to be intentional and voices can be jarring, and it's good to keep that in mind. All right. So next, we're creating this with the assumption that it's going to be a video, like something you could put it on YouTube and send a link. And I personally, if I'm making one of these, I like to create the slideshow for it. It could be just a simple screen. I think it's important to give somebody something to look at when they're listening to these, because not everyone is comfortable closing their eyes, or they get bored and they want to look at, they just don't want to close their eyes for the entire time. Maybe they'll fall asleep. So I like to offer them something that they can just kind of visually get lost in and meditate on. Again, intention. But yeah, so I tend to do slideshows with these. It gives an option. Like you don't have to close your eyes and clear your thoughts. Like um, I've come across a lot of people over the years that they think like, oh, is this a meditation? Do I have to not think? And then they just concentrate on not thinking the entire time. So having a variety of options for them to have available while listening to the recording is just, it creates a more just opportunity for success. And like have them feeling walk they could walk away feeling more relaxed. So yeah, I do slideshows. Um, and with this, again, like I mentioned a little bit at the beginning, you a client doesn't have to just sit there and listen. Like I've provided, paper and colored pencils so a client can draw while listening to this and, process whatever it is they need to. I tend to leave it open. I'm like, why don't you draw when you listen to this? And maybe if you want to share when you're done, like our next session, we can discuss it, or a variety of. So it goes back into the visualization. What other things can you have present that can help the client get further into the space that you created? So yeah, drawing is a great option, or just adding pictures to the slideshow. Yes. So back to what I was talking about earlier. Just because you have the ability to edit something 1,000 times does not mean you should. Um, when we're creating a piece like this, we're hearing it from a very personal perspective, where it's, not to sound too squishy, but you're creating art. And it's something that's going to be personal to you. You're creating it from, I do a lot of improvisation when I create these. But when you go back, it needs to be, when you're doing the editing, it's for the client. So like, it doesn't have to be torn apart 1,000 times, because again, you have that option when you're doing digital, and sometimes things just need to be let go. And it's easy to forget that when you're in the moment and you have like the sound wave is right in front of me. I always recommend headphones, um, if they're available for a client, to listen to these pieces in headphones, just because it brings you more into the space, especially if you've got like different pans and just effects happening. Headphones are good. Then we go back to what platform are you using to deliver this? Are you just using a WAV file? Again, I use YouTube. I like to create the videos. YouTube is very accessible as well. Like, it's just a link you click on. They take care of all the file types and all that. So it's accessible. Anyone can listen to it from anywhere where there's internet. So I tend to use YouTube for that. Other mediums, I know there's like, Vimeo. There's like the just WAV file sharing sites like SoundCloud. So it's good to keep in mind that how you are delivering. All right. Now, if my computer will let me, I wanted to play a bit of a finished soundscape that I created. It has a nice, I'm not sure what time it is by you all, but it's almost 7:30 here. It's a nice way to wind down, and an example of all of this that I've been talking about with intention and different resonant instruments. So I am sharing the screen still. And afterwards, I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Okay. So I'm not going to play the whole 15 minutes, but I definitely want to play enough for everyone to get an idea of what this is all about. So on that note, if you're not already in a comfortable position, I recommend finding a comfortable chair, or leaning back in a chair, or whatever's best for you. And I always, at least to get started, I invite people just to kind of close their eyes and take a couple deep breaths just to get grounded. So you want to join me with that? Breathe in and out. And in and out. And in and out. All right. Okay. For the sake of time, I'm going to stop that music there. I'm putting a link in the chat in case you want to listen to the whole thing. So with this particular client, it was to help them de-stress and help them be able to get to sleep at night. So my intention when creating this piece was to start it more meeting them where they are at typically on a typical evening, which is, more high energy than they want to be. So I tried, my intent was to meet them there. And then you notice like it went from like that very rhythmic, that was the hand pan, into more mellower guitar. And as a song goes on, as a track goes on, it gets more ambient, more, bringing someone from here and ease them into a place where they can rest or relax or sleep. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If any of you have any questions, now is a great time to ask them. Thank you so much for joining me.